Welcome back. We are now joined by political commentators from the Young Voices UK organisation, Connor Tomlinson. Good evening, Connor.
Good evening again, Kevin. Lovely to see you.
I want to talk about Leonardo Di Caprio. Who can forget the absurd spectacle of that Hollywood superstar flying into the COP26 fiasco up in Glasgow by private jet to receive an award for his ecological work? I mean, did no one tell him that private jets aren't all that ecological? And now he's in trouble because he's been spending the holidays, as they say in America, Christmas and New Year, on a boat called Vava 6, or is it Vave 6? Vava 2, the second. It's got 6 decks, a helipad, and it costs £250,000 to fill its fuel tanks. He apparently rented this to party through the holiday season on the superstars island of St Bart's. I know St Bart's a bit, and it is a bit festooned in massive great oligarchs, super yachts. Obviously, DiCaprio being among their number. By renting this thing, he's believed to have given 75 million of his £200 million fortune to global conservation projects, but he needs to understand that if he is to look as if he's someone who really cares about the environment, he's got to cut out the private jets and the private super yachts, right?
Well, this is the root of the problem, where essentially DiCaprio and his buddies are happy to go to global climate conferences. He flew from New York to France a couple of years ago to pick up a climate award, which incredibly self-defeating. The problem is he is a member of a group who are happy to set rules and recommend restrictions on us, like Joanna Lumley did when she said we should ration energy and food to save the planet. But they're not going to abide by the restrictions they impose on us. They are a climate catastrophizing class who are happy to party at our expense.
Well, Joanna Lumley just spends all her time zooming around the universe, courtesy of ITV, to make documentaries. Here I am in India, here I am in Afghanistan, etc., etc. She's forever on the move on gas-guzzling, eco-damaging jets, isn't she?
Well, you're not telling me that Leo DiCaprio just took an electric Uber to go to all of the film sets around the world he just used to film his brand new climate change allegory film, either, are you? I mean, he flies everywhere all the time to make his blockbusters and to make his entire fortune. Of course, his justification is going to be, he's actually claimed with a straight face, I'm a carbon neutral citizen, because he plants trees to offset all of his emissions. Now, some of those initiatives are rather nice, but you're going to have to plant a hell of a lot of trees in order to get over the fact that you fly everywhere for all of your jobs and to pick up all these awards you seem to be winning.
I seem to remember Coldplay doing just that not so long ago, and all of their trees were planted to offset their carbon travelling damage, and the trees all caught fire, so that didn't quite work out well. And also, I hate that carbon neutral system whereby you offset your carbon. It's just a way for people who behave in a completely ungreen way to kid themselves that they're ecological warriors. It's nonsense, isn't it?
For some people, it is a little bit like when people used to pay the church a few hundred years ago for their sins and to get into heaven, so it's a bit hypocritical. You can be as licentious as you want. Reminds me of that quote by, I believe it's St Anselm, who said, "Oh, please God, make me chaste, just not yet," because you don't want to live up to your own standards. The one thing I will say, there are some initiatives that are doing things like planting trees and regenerating conservation projects rather than giving loads of money, as a lot of companies do, to say, we're investing in renewable energy, and then buy all the batteries from China.
Yeah, well, here's an idea, Leo. Plant trees, but don't get on private jets and private yachts. How about that? Then you'll really help the world, as opposed to sating your own guilty conscience.
Do you know how much fuel that private yacht produces, by the way? So if you do a 7-mile trip, that's enough for one family car for a year. And then the actual island he went round, I looked into a little bit, obviously you're fairly familiar with it.
Yeah.
So apparently they've got higher rate of smart car ownership than anywhere else because the roads are so small. A little bit like the
they
Italians
are small roads, but they've got massive yachts all the way around that island.
Yeah, and the hilarious thing is quite a lot of the ocean around it is marine protected areas. So you're happy to float your boat everywhere where the fish are dying out, and then apparently all of the people on that little island are far more eco-conscious than you are, Leo.
It's a stunning place. I mean, it's part of France. A phone call to Paris is a local call. It uses euros, and let's be a bit careful here, but let's put it this way: the food there It's better than you tend to get around the Caribbean because it's like French quality food. So it's a great place to go. But if you go in a super yacht called Vava 2, or is it at the Vava the Second or something, the one that Leonardo and his girlfriend Camilla are on at the moment. She's the stepdaughter of Scarface star Al Pacino. Anyway, this super yacht they're on that he's rented out, it chugs out 238 kilograms of carbon dioxide per mile, every mile. That's a lot of pollution, isn't it?
Well, I don't think anyone resents the fact that Leo can go on his holidays. It's merely that he's just lecturing to us in a hypocritical way to limit our lifestyles when he and all of his mates aren't prepared to do theirs. Now, there's plenty of climate campaigners who will get on a commercial jet, and that will be critiqued as well. Now that's, I think, is fine, because the exact same companies that are flying commercial airlines are invested in things like green fuel, etc. But if you're getting a private jet, needlessly, to go to pick up a climate award, think at least of the optics of that, mate.
I know. Couldn't make it up, could you?
You could have done it over Zoom.
But this is, his approach is, do as I say, not what I do. And this is the problem. I know that you're a passionate campaigner for climate change causes, and a keen ecologist, but you must see that this is half the problem. Is people like Leonardo DiCaprio do as I say, not as I do. And of course, remember the Cornwall G7 where they all rolled up in private jets and then hugged and kissed each other as if no masks were required. Joe Biden's massive motorcade both in Rome and in Glasgow when he got there. You were in Scotland for COP26. This hypocrisy is a big problem, isn't it? Because why should I take it seriously when you, Leonardo DiCaprio, Joe Biden, Boris Johnson, Macron, clearly don't?
That was 220 million tons of carbon from that one car motorcade. That's just like all those black cars in a procession. And it's like a funeral parade for fiscal responsibility. It's ridiculous. I will correct here, just for the viewers' sake of it. When people say climate change, as you said, I think a lot of the time we're so sick of raising awareness of climate change. I'm going to steal your line. I'm thinking of actively lowering awareness. My point is, I'm a conservationist. I think we should have parks. I think animals should be protected. Do I, like all of the people, like Leonardo's latest film, think the sky is burning and they're all going to be dead in 10 years? No, because the IPCC report that they all keep citing actually doesn't say that either. And funnily enough, I went to COP26. We had fringe events. We spoke to politicians. We spoke to business leaders. We spoke to the exact kind of people that are going to innovate our way into energy independence and safeguarding animals and that. And do you know what I did? I took the train and stayed what it basically looked like a prison. So I think my little amount of carbon probably did more offsetting than Leo's entire tree planting initiative has done for his whole career.
Yeah, that film, Don't Look Up, I picked up the Listings magazine to look up what else there was to watch, because it really was not much of a film. Don't let Hollywood people do satire. They've got no idea.
Well, Jennifer Lawrence is in it, and it's nice that Leo DiCaprio is planting so many trees that he's actually co-starring with a bit of wood.
Well, is that fair? I don't know. Is she a bad actress?
If you've seen her in the X-Men, no.
Okay, I haven't seen her in the X-Men.
My advice, don't.
But the central point, though, is, I accept that climate change is an important issue, and people should try to get on board to try and save this planet from its terrible fate, from pollution. I suppose I accept that, but it's never going to get off the ground if all these elites like Leonardo DiCaprio, Joe Biden, Boris Johnson, Emmanuel Macron think that we're supposed to make loads of effort, but they don't have to. It's never going to get off the ground, is it?
No, and it's also never going to get off the ground if the policies and investment they make is completely pointless. I mean, Joe Biden and Angela Merkel, they go to COP. They are the same sort of people that party with the G7. Meanwhile, they've caused this energy crisis, this cost of living crisis, by driving gas prices up. So they have the gall to go to COP26 and pat each other on the back and say what good citizens they are for saving the planet. Meanwhile, working class Brits over here, impoverished because they're choosing, again, to use the old line, between heating and eating. It's entirely avoidable, but it's made by the green obsessive policies that have, instead of doing, for example, North Sea oil extraction, putting carbon capture on that could make us net neutral very fast. No, instead we've abandoned things like fossil fuels and repatriated gas manufacturing for an ideological commitment to becoming the Saudi Arabia of wind, one that's got no protections against outages at the moment. I'm quite hawkish on that. I don't mind the sight of them, but I don't think that these kind of commitments that are going to do us any good. And clearly they don't either, because much like the Downing Street parties, they're not living by their own rules.
Indeed. Good stuff, Connor. Thank you so much for dropping by. That's Connor Tomlinson, political commentator, member of the Young Voices UK organisation. When we come back,